I'd like to now call to the stage Chairman Chad Holliday, Lance Davis, and Tom Budinger, and Michaela Curran to set the stage for the presentation of the inductions awards, inducting new members. I'd also like to note that this is Lance Davis's final kind of induction ceremony after 15 years of reading names of new inductees and serving as an executive officer of the Academy. He is retiring. So please join me in a clap or two in appreciation of his service. Okay, all right. Got the service. That was for reading the names correctly.
Okay. So you did everything set. Well, as Dan just suggested, I'm Lance Davis, the Executive Officer of the Academy of Engineering, and I have the honor to introduce you to the members of the class of 2014. We're extremely proud, of course, to have them as members, but we're also proud of our long-term members and long-time members. And if you look in the induction book in the back, you'll see a list of anniversary members for the Academy of Engineering. And I want to welcome, at least read out the names of those who are here today at a special one, 25, 30, 35, or 40. So when I read your name, if you could stand up and take a quick bow, that'd be much appreciated. So at 40 years, Howard Arnold. I know Howard's here. Because I know he's here because we sat next to each other at dinner last night. Lou Branscombe, is Lou here? He's in the other room, okay. Ted Galambos for 35 years. Now for 30 years, Anil Chopra. Now I have quite a few at 25, and if you'll just all stand up as I read your name. Joel Birnbaum, John Cassani, Steve Director, Bob Forney, Elsa Garmeyer, Louis Hagedis, Bob Herman, Izzat Idris, Daniel Lukes, Ronald Nordgren, Larry Seifert, Michael Schuler, Henry Smith, Kuo Wang, Robert White, and Jerry Woodall. And have a round of applause for all of them. As you can tell by looking, they were all elected when they were young boys. Okay, so this is a terrific occasion. We are here to acknowledge the excellence in engineering. We're celebrating the marvelous contributions that engineers have made in research and developing innovations in engineering education, in developing novel technologies and designing solutions for real-world problems. This is your payoff, the new members, for spending endless hours working in the classroom, in the laboratory, and on the road to reach the top of the engineering profession. It's your reward for persistence in the face of skepticism, and it's your reward for being a multitasker par excellence. Now, if you've been reading the citations in the induction booklet, you'll probably recognize there's something like out of a science fiction movie, but I promise you we're not making this stuff up. Sir Arthur Clarke, a foreign member of the NAE, now deceased, and the author of 2001, A Space Odyssey, said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So today we are honoring some of the magic of engineering. Engineering is a marvelously creative enterprise, and the citations reflect that creativity. Engineering improves the human condition, as you've heard earlier today, and that is a message we are consistently trying to convey to the public, young and old. Now, as those of you know who frequently attend the annual meeting, I call or email the new members and foreign members to check on how they pronounce their names, and this year was no exception. Now, if there's a sudden tightening in the back of your throat and you say, uh-oh, you should have called me, I should point out that I likely talked to your answering machine or to your assistant, and even talked to a few of you directly, so you should be covered. Now, my hero in this regard is the actor John Travolta, and not because he was Vinnie Barbarino on television a generation ago or has his own jet. Those of you who watched the Academy Awards ceremony last March heard John take mangling of names to new heights. He was entrusted to introduce the singer Idina Menzel, who we introduced as Adele Dazeem. Apparently, something close to alliteration was the only thing that mattered. But in this episode, it showed one thing that we might be missing an opportunity here. In the website Slate, which is a fairly famous website, that website put up an Adele Dazeem name generator page, which was the most viewed page in Slate's 18-year history. So if we want to drive traffic to the NAE website, we could put up a member name generator, and maybe what we need to do is experiment with your names. You'll probably be happy to know, though, that we've decided to wait for next year's class to do that. And so I will try to pronounce your name the way that you would pronounce it, and we'll see how that goes. So what I'm about to do is read the name, affiliation, and election citation for each of our new members and foreign members while they come up to the stage. I'd like to remind the members to queue up along the aisle here when released by one of our staff members so that we have an orderly procession. Then please come up the stairs to my left in front of the podium. Stand between our president and our chair, who will both greet you and hand you your certificate, and then have a picture taken for posterity. And then from there, move to the table where our Home Secretary will have you sign the NAE register. And please do stop to sign the register. Last year, some of our members moved right past it, and we sort of had to tackle them and bring them back, and it'd be nice if we didn't have to do that. Okay. And I should point out, two things to point out. Well, number one, we'll introduce the members first, the foreign members second. And the other thing is there are a few members who were not able to join us for this event, so I'm not going to read their names. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, Mr. Home Secretary, Mr. Foreign Secretary, it's my pleasure to present to you the members of the class of 2014. So Professor Nicholas L. Abbott, John T. and Magdalene L. Zabota Professor, Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering, University of Wisconsin-Madison, for innovations and applications in soft matter surface science. Professor Harry R. Alcock, Evan Bew Professor of Chemistry, Department of Chemistry at Pennsylvania State University, for the development of polyphosphazines, a new class of biomaterials. Professor Jan P. Ullebach, Hewlett-Packard Distinguished Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering, School of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Purdue University, for development of algorithms for digital image half-toning for imaging and printing. Dr. Dan E. Arvizu, Director and Chief Executive, National Renewable Energy Laboratory, for leadership in the renewable and clean energy sectors and for promoting national balanced energy policies. Professor Daniel E. Adkins III, W.K. Kellogg Professor in Community Information and Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering, University of Michigan, for leadership in development of radix algorithms and cyber-technical collaborative systems. Dr. Martin Balzer, Distinguished Technical Fellow, Northrop Grumman Corporation, for innovations in technologies from fundamental physics that significantly advance military communications. Dr. M. Catherine Banks, Vice Chancellor and Dean of Engineering, Texas A&M University College Station, for contributions to phytoremediation of petroleum contamination for leadership and engineering education. Dr. Harrison H. Barrett, Regents Professor, University of Arizona, for contributions to the physical and statistical foundations and applications of radiological and nuclear medical imaging. Dr. Peter J. Bethel, Principal Mineral Processing Consultant, Cardinal, Marshall Miller and Associates, for contributions to advanced separation technologies for coal processing. Dr. Mark P. Board, Corporate Director of Geotechnical Engineering, Hecla Mining Company, for contributions to the design of large-scale mines based on application of advanced rock mechanics principles. Professor Dusan Boroyevich, American Electric Power Professor, Bradley Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Virginia Tech, for advancements in control, modeling, and design of electronic power conversion for electric energy and transportation. Mr. Terry Boston, PE, President and CEO of PGM Interconnection, LLC, for leadership in development and operation of large electric grids and markets for wholesale electricity. Dr. Paul F. Boulos, President, COO, and CTO of Innovise, for contributions to theory and practice of computational hydraulic simulation technology for water infrastructure. Professor Stephen P. Boyd, Samsung Professor in the School of Engineering, Department of Electrical Engineering, Stanford University, for contributions to engineering design and analysis via convex optimization. Dr. Robert D. Braun, David and Andrew Lewis Professor of Space Technology, Daniel Guggenheim School of Aerospace Engineering, Georgia Institute of Technology, for contributions to space exploration and technologies for entering planetary atmospheres from space. Dr. Robert D. Briskman, Technical Executive, Sirius XM Radio Incorporated, for achievements in satellite communications culminating in Sirius XM Radio. Professor Reuben G. Carbonell, Fred Hawkins Keenan Distinguished Professor of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering, the Keenan Institute for Engineering, Technology, and Science, North Carolina State University, for research and innovation in multi-phase reactor design, high-pressure thin film coating, and novel bioseparation processes. Professor Tony F. Chan, President of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, for numerical techniques applied to image processing and scientific computing, and for providing engineering leadership at the national and international levels. Dr. Alan W. Cram, Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, Illinois Institute of Technology, for contributions to development of high-integrity, continuously cast steels. Professor Carlos F. DeGonzo, Chancellor Professor of the Graduate School, University of California, Berkeley, for engineering contributions to traffic, transportation, and logistics systems and operations. Dr. Bijan Davari, IBM Fellow and Vice President, Next Generation Computing Systems and Technology, IBM Thomas J. Watson Research Center, for contributions to scaling of CMOS technology. Dr. Brenda J. Dietrich, IBM Fellow and Vice President, IBM Thomas J. Watson Research Center, for contributions to engineering algorithms, frameworks, and tools to solve complex business problems. Professor J. Gary Eden, Gilmore Family Professor, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, for development and commercialization of microplasma technologies and excimer lasers. Dr. Thomas F. Edgar, George T. and Gladys H. Abel, Endowed Chair in Engineering, Makeda, Department of Chemical Engineering, University of Texas at Austin, for contributions to mathematical modeling, optimization, and automatic control of chemical and microelectronic processes, and for professional leadership. Professor Syed E. El-Gobashi, Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering Department, University of California at Irvine, for contribution to understanding and modeling of multi-phase turbulent flows. Professor Iraj Ershagi, Omar B. Milligan Professor and Director of Petroleum Engineering Program in the Mork Family Department of Chemical Engineering and Materials Science, University of Southern California, for contributions to characterization of complex fractured reservoirs and for leadership in industry, university-industry collaboration. Dr. Ronald Fagan, IBM Fellow, IBM Almaden Research Center, for contributions to theory and practice of data management. Dr. Gregory L. Fenves, Executive Vice President and Provost, the University of Texas at Austin, for contributions to computational modeling, creation of open source software, and earthquake engineering analysis and academic leadership. Professor Catherine W. Ferreira, Distinguished Professor, Department of Biomedical Engineering, University of California, Davis, for contributions to theory and applications of biomedical ultrasonics. Professor Maria Flitzani Stephanopoulos, Robert and Marcy Haber Endowed Professor in Engineering Sustainability, Energy Sustainability, Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering, Tufts University, for contributions to atomically dispersed heterogeneous metal catalysts for efficient production of fuels and chemicals. Professor Naomi J. Hallis, Stanley C. Moore Professor, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, Rice University, for nanoscale engineering of optical resonances and line shapes. Professor J. Carl Hedrick, Department of Mechanical Engineering, University of California, Berkeley, for analysis and control methods for nonlinear systems with application to practical problems. Dr. Wallace J. Hopp, Senior Associate Dean, Stephen M. Ross School of Business, University of Michigan, for creating and applying fundamental engineering principles governing the underlying behavior of manufacturing systems and supply chains. Professor Chandrasekhar J. Joshi, Distinguished Professor, Electrical Engineering Department, University of California, Los Angeles, for contributions to development of laser and beam-driven plasma accelerators. Dr. Norman P. Jopi, Distinguished Hardware Engineer at Google Incorporated, for contributions to the design of computer memory hierarchies. Mr. David L. Joyce, President and CEO, General Electric Aviation, for contributions to reducing emissions and fuel consumption of turbofan engines. Dr. Frederick A. Kish, Jr., Senior Vice President, Infinera Corporation, for contributions to high-brightness light-emitting diodes. Dr. Geraldine Natz, Retired Executive Director, Port of Los Angeles, Professor of Practice, Schools of Engineering and Public Policy, University of Southern California, for international leadership in the engineering and development of environmentally clean urban seaports. Dr. Roger B. Krieger, Retired Lab Group Manager, Powertrain Systems Research Laboratory, General Motors R&D, for contributions to engine research, advanced engine technologies, and passenger vehicles, and leadership in engineering education. Mr. R. Keith Michel, President, Webb Institute, for contributions to the design, construction, and operation of efficient, environmentally friendly ships. Professor Charles A. Mistretta, John R. Cameron Professor at Wisconsin Institute of Medical Research, University of Wisconsin-Madison, for contributions to development and application of angiographic methods in X-ray and magnetic resonance imaging. Dr. Jack P. Maley, T.Y. and Margaret Lynn Professor of Engineering, Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, University of California, Berkeley, for contributions to earthquake-resistant design and analysis of building structures, and for leadership in engineering education. Professor Ned Mohan, Oscar A. Schott Professor of Power Electronics and Systems, Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, University of Minnesota, Minneapolis, for contributions to the integration of electronics into power systems and to innovations in power engineering education. Admiral Michael G. Mullen, President MGM Consulting LLC, for applying engineering methods and developing and executing offensive and defensive strategies for the U.S. Navy. Dr. Damir Novosel, President Quanta Technology LLC, for innovations of business leadership in the security and reliability of electric power grids. Professor Yale N. Patt, Ernest Cockrell Jr., Centennial Chair, Electrical and Computer Engineering Department, University of Texas at Austin, for contributions to high-performance microprocessor architecture. Lieutenant General Ellen M. Polakowski, Military Deputy and Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Acquisition, U.S. Air Force, for leadership in the development of technologies for national security programs, including spacecraft operations and the airborne laser. Professor George M. Farr IV, Chancellor's Professor and McCamey Professor of Engineering, Department of Materials Science and Engineering, University of Texas, Tennessee at Knoxville, for development of methods for determining mechanical properties of materials by nanoindentation. Dr. Craig E. Phillip, Chief Executive Officer, retired of Ingram Barge Company, for contributions in information technology and management innovation in the intermodal, rail, and inland waterway industries. Professor J. Michael Ramsey, Minnie N. Golby, Distinguished Professor of Chemistry at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, for development of microfluidic technologies for analytical applications. Professor Jennifer Rexford, Gordon Y.S. Wu Professor in Engineering, Department of Computer Science, Princeton University, for contributions to the operational stability of large computer networks. Professor James J. Riley, Packard Professor of Engineering, Department of Mechanical Engineering, University of Washington, for contributions in analysis, modeling, and computations of transitioning and turbulent phenomena. Professor Robert E. Shapiri, Principal Researcher, Microsoft Research, for contributions to machine learning through invention and development of boosting algorithms. Dr. Bob E. Schutz, Professor of Aerospace Engineering and Engineering Mechanics, Center for Space Research, University of Texas at Austin, for contributions to the use of satellite laser ranging and global positioning system tracking to study Earth system dynamics. Dr. Stuart L. Solid, Distinguished Research Associate, ExxonMobil Research and Engineering Company, for discovery and commercialization of new materials with significant environmental and economic benefits to society. Dr. David B. Spencer, Chairman of the Board, WTE Corporation, for Invention and Entrepreneurship in Materials Manufacturing and Recycling. Lieutenant General Thomas P. Stafford, United States Air Force retired, independent consultant for leadership in the development of rendezvous and docking technologies for the Apollo and Apollo-Soyuz programs. Professor Jerry R. Stedinger, School of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Cornell University, for statistical methods for flood risk assessment and optimization methods for hydropower system management. Dr. Gebre E. Zagai, Global Director, Corporate R&D and Innovation, Procter & Gamble Company, for contributions to world health through the development and commercialization of dental care and personal hygiene products. Professor Ian A. Waits, Dean of Engineering, Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, for analysis of environmental effects of aviation, enabling practical environmental regulations. Dr. Alan N. Wilson, Jr., Charles P. Reams, Research Professor, Electrical Engineering Department, University of California, Los Angeles, for contributions to the theory and applications of digital signal processing. Dr. Stacy I. Zones, Consulting Scientist, Chevron Energy and Technology Company, for contributions to molecular sieve catalysts used in commercial applications. Now we'll take about a 15-second pause while our Foreign Secretary, Venki Narayanamurthy, moves up to the table so that the foreign members can sign the foreign members book as opposed to the other book. Okay. All right, now we will proceed. Professor Dr. Dieter Bimberg, Executive Director, Center of Nanophotonics, Technical University of Berlin, for innovations in nanomaterials, nanophysics, and nanodevices. Professor Virginia S.T. Ciminelli, Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, the Federal University of Minas Gerais, for contributions in environmental hydrometallurgy and for leadership in national and international technical collaborations. Professor Norman A. Fleck, Professor of Engineering, the Engineering Department of Cambridge University, for experimental and theoretical contributions to mechanical engineering of solids and structures. Professor Alon Ghani, Faculty of Aerospace Engineering, Technion, Israel Institute of Technology, for advances in the development of solid propellants for rockets and scramjets. Professor David Harrell, the William Sussman Professor of Mathematics, Department of Computer Science and Applied Mathematics, the Weizmann Institute of Science, for invention of state charts and contributions to the logic of programming. Professor Dr. Kurt Mielhorn, Director, Max Planck Institute for Informatics, for contributions to algorithm design and development of the LIDA software library. Dr. Harry G. Poulos, Senior Principal, Coffee Geotechnics, Australia, for contributions to understanding foundation structure and ground support interactions. Dr. Lubomir T. Romankiw, IBM Fellow, IBM Thomas J. Watson Research Center, for innovation of thin-film magnetic head structures and electrochemical process technologies for microelectronics device fabrication. Dr. Indira V. Samarasekera, President and Vice Chancellor, University of Alberta, Canada, for mechanistic understanding of steel casting processes for improved productivity. Professor Moshe Shoham, Tamara and Harry Handelsman Academic Chair, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Technion Israel Institute of Technology, for contributions to robotic technology for image-guided surgery. Professor Zhang Zhengdan, National Engineering Research Center for Biomaterials, Sichuan University, for contributions to musculoskeletal medical therapies and biomedical product development, biomaterial product development. And Dr. Zhu Ji, President, Chinese Academy of Engineering, for research contribution in numerical control, computer-aided design, and design optimization. Let's give the entire class of members and farm members one more round of applause. Now, my last official act on this stage is to ask the members of the class, to exit through the middle doors before everybody else gets up, so that you can have a group picture taken on the front steps of the Academy. Please. The foreign members, yeah, all members and foreign members, collectively, yes. So thank you very much for your attention. While the picture's being taken, there will be a break until 2 o'clock.
Well done. Well done.